F1 News, Red Bull boss makes prediction over Ferrari, Mercedes. Max Verstappen secured the first podium finish of the season for Red Bull at the Australian Grand Prix last weekend, and Horner hopes it will be the first of many. The Red Bulls kept the pace with the Scuderia in Melbourne, but were unable to match the Silver Arrows throughout the weekend. Valtteri Bottas ended up winning the Formula One season opener by 20 seconds ahead of his teammate Lewis Hamilton, while Verstappen was 2 seconds behind him. Gasly, however, had a poor weekend and finished a lap behind Bottas. Despite this, Horner is still confident that his team will be able to continue to compete for the rest of the year. It's still too early to talk about the championship, he reassured fans. The podium was a great moment for Honda, but the race at Albert Park is also not the benchmark for the pecking order in Formula One, because the track has a special characteristic. Mercedes surprised with its pace and Ferrari rather disappointed. Whether this is really a trend, can only be evaluated after the race in Bahrain. Melbourne was the first time Red Bull had used their new Honda engines, since their switch from Renault last season. And Horner told fans he was pleased with the way the new engine had been working so far. "We are proud of the performance and are happy with the Honda product," he continued. "I hope this is the start of a strong season. The goal of Red Bull is still to close the gap on Mercedes and Ferrari. But we have had a good start and need to build on this positive energy now." Next news: Vettel believes 6 drivers have chance to win the World Championship in 2019. After the Australian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen made it clear Red Bull has the ability to compete with Mercedes and Ferrari with their new partnership with Honda. Lewis Hamilton has already spoken about a 3-way fight for the championship this season. His rival, Sebastian Vettel, expects more drivers to be involved in the battle for the big trophy. "I can only speak for myself, but I think there are 3 large teams again and all those teams have enough potential to take the world title this year," Vettel explains to race fans. "We look at ourselves first and we are hopefully faster than everyone else, but I think it will be very tight." Pierre Gasly missed out on points in Australia, but Vettel warns against writing him off for the season. He expects the young Frenchman to come fighting back in Bahrain. "I think that Pierre had a little bad luck on Saturday. I think he did no worse than Max Verstappen seen over the entire weekend," Vettel said. "I think that all 6 drivers of the top teams will get involved in the fight. Hopefully, we can continue to fight as long as possible to make the decision later in the season." Next news: Red Bull will know true pace after China, Verstappen. Max Verstappen believes that Red Bull won't know for sure where it sits in the F1 2019 pecking order until after the Chinese Grand Prix. Verstappen got Red Bull and Honda's new partnership off to a great start by finishing the Australian Grand Prix an impressive third ahead of both Ferraris after the Italian team looked to be the class of the field during testing. Although the team has impressed even themselves with the level of performance it showed in Melbourne, the Dutch driver is keeping a level head until they work out how quick they really are. Starting the season with a podium in Australia is really positive, but Melbourne is not a typical circuit, so we can't get carried away, and I don't think we will really know where we stand until after China, he said in the Red Bull Bahrain Grand Prix preview. Verstappen also added that he was optimistic heading into the race in Sakir. "I enjoy the track and the transition from day to night is a challenge in terms of car balance, so that always makes it an interesting weekend. You never really know where you stand when you start qualifying because you haven't had the optimal preparation as the track conditions aren't the same during practice. The middle sector, which is quite technical, is the best part of the Bahrain circuit, and I hope it's good for racing again this year. Next news: be afraid F1 fans. Other than needing to keep the team sweet, F1's package of proposals for the sport post 2020 due to be presented to them in the coming days. There is the little matter of the circuits on which the teams are due to race. Other than the technical rules post 2020, F1 is seeking to get the teams to agree to a budget cap, the scrapping of historic bonuses, and the redistribution of the prize pot. Good luck with that, as they say. But there is also the little matter of the circuits. Earlier this year, 16 of them, in the form of the Formula One Promoters Association, FOPA, aired their grievances in the form of a brief statement, and while it has gone fairly quiet since then, it should not be forgotten that 5 events are in the final year of their current contracts. The failure to retain those 5 races, 4 of which were signatories to the FOPA statement, would not only see the calendar compromised but would cost the sport around £100 million, surely the last thing it needs following 2 years in which it has reported a loss, £51.5 million, $68 million, in 2018, up from a £28 million, $37 million, loss in 2017. Speaking at the Deutsche Bank Media, Internet and Telecom Conference, Liberty's chief executive Greg Maffei made no secret of who he blamed for the fact that race hosting fees are now so high they have left the organizers drained. Step forward Bernie Ecclestone. Bernie had done a very good job, arguably too good a job, and had drained the promoters, said Maffei. However, just 2 years earlier, Chase Carey told the Financial Times that nobody was tricked. It's not that the deal is overpriced, it's more, did we deliver where we should deliver? So, on the one hand we have a senior Liberty boss insisting that the hosting fees are not overpriced, even though Ecclestone did too good a job by asking so much of the organizers that it drained them, while the current F1 Supremo says this didn't apply to race fees. However, in a seeming further twist of the knife, Maffei claims that Bernie suggested to a lot of them that they were overpaying and that didn't help the cause, a comment which suggests the former F1 boss acting out of spite. Fact is, however, in late 2016, before Liberty made its bid for the sport, Ecclestone told the Daily Mail that the solution to declining crowds was to give the teams less money and charge the promoters less so tickets are less. Then we'd get back people queuing up for a ticket. While it remains to be seen whether F1 can convince the teams to agree to a package that in many ways will be a lifesaver to some and a major game changer to others, the race promoters will also need some convincing. Last August, Angelo Sticci Damiani, president of the Automobile Club d'Italia, ASA, said that the 2017 Italian Grand Prix made a strong loss, and the 2018 budget will not be different either. It is clear that such a situation is not sustainable in the long term. The ASA is ready to do its part, but not under any conditions. And of course we are all familiar with the British Racing Drivers Club's, BRDC, Damascene moment in early 2017, when Chairman John Grant admitted that it is not financially viable for us to deliver the British Grand Prix under the terms of our current contract. By running the British Grand Prix we sustain net losses of £2.8 million, $3.7 million, in 2015 and £4.8 million, $6.4 million in 2016, revealed. That's £7.6 million, $10.1 million, over 2 years. We expect to lose a similar amount this year. To continue on this path is not only unsustainable, it would put at risk Silverstone, the home of British motor racing. As a result, that summer the BRDC exercised a clause in its contract that means that, as it stands, this year's race is the last. Hosting fees make up the largest single source of the sport's revenue, which last year was £1.36 billion, $1.8 billion, the 21 races paying an average of £22.2 million, $29.4 million, bringing in a total of £466.60, $616.7 million. Remember, for their bucks, unlike most other sports, the race organizers don't usually receive any of the income from broadcasting, official on-site corporate hospitality or even advertising at the venue, all of which heads straight to the F1 coffers. Yes, it was Ecclestone who agreed these deals, including the staggering built-in annual increments of up to 5. But surely this was one of the things that made the sport so appealing to Liberty Media in the first place. It was Ecclestone also who sold the F1 dream to governments keen to see their countries promoted positively, benefiting from the sport's 490 million TV viewers, and therefore willing to pay the sort of fees which, according to Forbes, rose by 49.2% over the 15 years to 2018 while, in the same period, the number of events in traditional European locations fell by 12.7%. Despite the promise of a revenue-sharing deal, which particularly irked the signatories of the FOPR statement, F1 has been unable to get Miami on board. Indeed, Vietnam, a location Ecclestone rejected, is now on board. At a reported cost of £30.2 million, $40 million, a year. Despite the fact that the sport could lose as many as 5 races, a number of which are held at iconic venues like Silverstone and Monza, Maffei doesn't appear overly concerned. Indeed, like Baldrick, the American appears to have a cunning plan. There are things we have looked at to add on to the business that we think are synergistic, he says. There are a couple of acquisitions that could be interesting that are motorsport related, and there may be other things that fit well that are extensions to the brand. Be afraid, F1 fans. Next news: Mel B, I had sex with Geri Horner. Mel B claims she once slept with Spice Girls bandmate Geri Horner whilst they were still in the band over 20 years ago. Mel B claims she once slept with Spice Girls bandmate Geri Horner. The 43-year-old singer is set to reunite with the wannabe hitmakers for a special tour in just a few weeks' time, and has revealed that during her original run with the girl group over 20 years ago, she had one-time fling with Geri, which she insists will never happen again. She said, "We were best friends. It wasn't a thing. We just giggled at it and that was it. It just happens one time and then you talk about it and it does not really happen again. It was just that one time." But Mel fears 46-year-old Geri, who is now married to Christian Horner, won't be too happy with her decision to come clean about the romp. She added, "Hopefully when Geri gets asked she won't deny it, because it was just a thing. It was not anything major. It was just a fun thing. You asked me a question and I answered it. She is going to hate me for this because she is all posh in her country house and her husband. But it's a fact. She is going to kill me and so is her husband." And although she only had a sexual encounter with Geri, Mel insists she kissed all the other group members, made up of Mel C, Emma Bunton, and Victoria Beckham. Speaking to Piers Morgan in a promotional clip for his ITV chat show Life Stories, she said, "When I got my tongue pierced we all kissed. But that was just a kiss because I wanted to know what it felt like. It was just a silly kiss. Nothing sexual like that. Mel's Full Life Stories episode is set to air in the UK on ITV this summer. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to share and subscribe to your channel to get the latest sports news around the world. Wished health and success. Goodbye.